Good afternoon and welcome to How to Speak Maintenance. If you're new to our podcast, we are sponsored by the Texas Apartment Association Education Foundation, and we bring guests on our show to talk through the maintenance side of property management and how we can help support our maintenance teams better. My name is Jason Fine. I'm the VP of Maintenance for Dominium, and with me is Becca Ramadi, who's the VP of the Texas Apartment Association Education Foundation. Hello, Becca.
Hey, Jason.
Before we start, did you want to talk about TAAEF and anything new coming out on your website?
Well, always check out the resources at TAA.org. For TAA members, you're going to find tons and tons of information there, as well as resources from the Education Foundation about recruiting, retaining, and advancing your most valuable resource, your people. But more to come on that, maybe a little later.
Awesome. Well, we're kicking off 2026 with a powerhouse roundtable on what it really means to speak maintenance and why it matters now more than ever. Joining us today are two of the most respected voices in the industry and frequent podcasters, Rhodes and Mark Cukro, who bring years of on-site experience, leadership insight, and passion for elevating maintenance teams. So welcome.
Howdy.
Howdy.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Yeah. Would you guys mind both kind of outlining who you are and for our new listeners and what you're working on?
Go ahead, Mark.
Sure. Well, I'm Mark Cukro, and like Paul, I've been in the industry a very long time. And before I entered the industry, I was an HVAC contractor managing projects, and then I joined multifamily about 30 years ago, 31 or two, well, maybe a little more. And so I've been a consultant on my own this is my 22nd year. So I'm very fortunate to be in the industry and travel and speak and consult and provide training and certification courses. And I'm really glad to join Paul because he and we do the same thing. We're all over the place. And it's nice to sit together on the same podcast for once, because usually we're at the same time slots or events. So that's my background, and I'm really glad to be here, and I'm grateful to you to invite us both. So thank you, Paul.
Yeah, thanks, Becca and Jason. It's wonderful to see you both again. Happy New Year. And for those who don't know me, I'm a weirdo loudmouth maintenance guy who's been in the industry long enough that my goatee and beard used to be red. So that was 30 some years ago myself. I am the senior manager of maintenance learning for Brookfield Properties. I also, like Mark, ventured out kind of on my own. I have a training and consulting business called Directional Maintenance Services. And then I'm a host of the Maintenance Mindset podcast, as well as co-host on The Turnover. So, like Mark, we've got thoughts and they just happen to come out of our mouths. And every once in a while, there's a good idea. In Mark's case, a lot of time there's good ideas. I'm lucky to fit one or two in frequently.
That's awesome. I share the same sentiment. When I first started in maintenance, I used to have hair. So I think we've aged well. Well, thanks again. We'll just jump right into it. So I wanted to ask both of you, what does speaking maintenance mean to you? And by that, I just want to clarify, what is the impact that the office and corporate side of our business have on maintenance, and how can they better support our maintenance partners?
Well, for me, the way that starts out is speaking is a part of communication, meaning it's a two-way street. So in my mind, speaking maintenance includes your maintenance teams as a part of strategic thinking, meaning our on-site leaders, the maintenance supervisors, are involved with the business of managing both the property, and then if you work for a larger management company, the on-site maintenance teams are involved in that decision-making process or in the decision fulfillment process at your properties. And that, to me, that's what speaking maintenance entails.
Yeah, and to me, it's similar. And like the office, especially the corporate office, is really where the planning takes place. And then on site, it's the managerial component. And in the field, it's execution. And everybody has execution responsibilities. But they're like, three very important legs on the table of what we do. And what I like to see happen is when the maintenance and the service technicians, supervisors, and managers are included in the planning phase, in the managerial phase, and those executions, it's a lot easier to implement things that are appreciated in the field. So what Paul and I know this is his too, it's mine, it's our lifelong mission to make a positive impact in the field and help people run their assets more financially successfully by giving people in the field the things that actually make a meaningful difference and have an impact. So very often, if you've owned a business and you've never worked on the door, knocking on doors and shaking hands and carrying tools, you don't really know what to expect. Just like a technician doesn't really know what it takes to run a business. And so the more that we can connect through the communication piece that Paul's talking about, the more we can empathize, sympathize, but truly relate to the person in a field, so everybody gets a better experience from the top of the corporate office to the person that's living in the homes that we are providing for them to the best of our ability. So today, when we speak about maintenance, we really want to make a difference in the field. So if you own a business, you can run it better. If you manage a business, you can manage it better. If you provide service, you can provide service better, and everybody gets to build their career more successfully in the way that they want. And so that's what it means to me.
I love hearing about the strategy piece and that this is bigger than just the relationship between the office teams and the maintenance teams, which is really where we started, Jason, was talking about how we were on a call with Iris from Camden, and she was talking about how she wanted to learn how to do XYZ, maintenance tasks so that she could better understand what took time and why this and why that. And she was trying to learn to speak maintenance. And I felt like the light bulb went over my head. Like, that's a great name for the next podcast. Amazing. So it feels great to hear that, maybe trying to teach a little bit of speaking maintenance is working. And now we need to start talking about it in a bigger strategic kind of a way. So thank you guys.
I definitely like how it sounds like you're saying empower maintenance employees, empower them, get them involved in the decision making, make them feel like they're a part of it rather than us just giving them the tasks that they need to complete for the day and hoping that they complete them.
Yeah, I was speaking at a leadership conference last week, and the leadership staff came up to me, and I've got to tell you, it was one of the most truly meaningful conversations I had at lunch, which, by the way, the lunch was amazing, which is usually not the case. And they said, Mark, I got to say, we're actually a little embarrassed that we never did this before. And then the VP of CapEx came over and he says, the people on our side of the business could use talks like this. He's like, I don't know why we've never included the technicians. These guys are telling us everything they're going through. They enjoy it. And I got more helpful information in 2 hours than I did in a year sitting in the office trying to make phone calls.
Interesting.
And so, here's kind of an analogy I like to use is even if we all speak English, we speak a slightly different language. If you have different languages, you have to learn to listen to the language the person speaks. And if you speak the words that they use in their language, they understand those better. And so even if you have a pretty good understanding, clarity comes when the language is across the board the same. And so if someone is more analytical and you speak to them more analytically, they're like, oh, well, that makes perfect sense. If someone is more process-based and they think, run me through the process of how this works, but you speak to them analytically, they're going to get confused. So the more that we all communicate with each other in the field, the clearer the message is. And from a leadership corporate perspective, you have to have leadership, communication, organization, resources, but you have to have structure. And in that structure, there has to be components where everybody in the field communicates to the decision makers that approve the funds. Otherwise, you're approving funds and don't really know what it's for, wondering where the return is. And if you're in the field requesting tools in a different language than the person that wants to know how much it costs, they don't really understand where the other person is coming from. And managers get stuck in the middle of this conversation because they're like, I have a budget, I'm trying to stick to it, I have to make the business successful, I have to make you successful. And I'm hearing it from both ends, and they can get unexpectedly caught in the middle in a dilemma. So everybody's job is important. There's not one that's less. But we have to learn the language, because if you have lunch with a CEO, a CFO, a manager and regional manager, a supervisor and a technician, they're talking about completely different things at the same time about the same property or properties. And so you can't replace that dialogue. And the more that occurs, the more clarity will happen in your business. And it will also lead to longevity, because people know that when they say something, the person that they're talking to actually gets it. And I think that's what's missing in a lot of workplaces.
And to that point, I'd actually raise a challenge. Jason, you mentioned that we empower our maintenance people to speak. I think that in order for us to have success and lasting success, we've got to get beyond empowerment and move to that potentially dangerous word of inclusion, meaning that our organization has a culture, if you will, that just the maintenance team is expected to be a part of the conversation. And if they're missing, they don't need permission to speak. They don't need an extra ditto holder place of this is where the maintenance person speaks, so it's all scripted out. No, they're a part of the conversation. It's just expected. So you don't have to have a permission tree. In the example that Mark said, everyone is sitting at the table. You don't even have to invite the maintenance technician over to the same lunch table. They're just there. And it's expected and it's understood that everyone can use that same language. And that way we all identify together what the needs are, and we can freely challenge each other to come up with even better ideas, because you're not waiting for permission. You're not waiting for empowerment to happen.
It's a good point. But Mark, you brought up budgets. And I always think about our maintenance teams brought to the table when it comes time to build the budgets for next year. And I think that, and I've seen it, or in the past, where maintenance employees don't have a seat at the table. They don't have a voice. We go off historical data, we plug it into a spreadsheet, and we hope it sticks for next year. Whereas listening to our maintenance people, bringing them into the conversation, not just sitting and bringing them into little conversations, it's also bringing them into budget conversations and making them a part of that process. I mean, what are your thoughts on that?
So there's a few things. Let me just say this too, because oftentimes when you talk about like leadership and organization and operations, you hear these phrases like, yeah, you got to step up, you got to be committed, you got to be passionate. Okay, those are blank phrases that mean nothing. What does that actually mean, right? Being involved, right? Like sitting at the table. I know how much a can of refrigerant costs. Your executive doesn't. They just know what their returns are and what the trends are and whatever financial metrics they look at. So you have to include the technicians. But here's the deal. If you're a technician watching this and a supervisor, you should be and should feel obligated to learn how to help someone run their business. Every person that hires you says to themselves, in their mind, maybe out loud, would you at least please show up, be dependable and reliable, and put forth a genuine effort to make my business more successful? And then in their mind, they usually say, if you do so, here's a budget. Now the question is, I don't ever want feedback from you, or I do want feedback from you, and if I need to make changes, I will. So leadership is going to put the control in the hands of the people in the field. If you don't trust a technician to spend $500, why are they working for you? I mean, really, so we have to be realistic with it too. Now, are there bad eggs? Yes. There are way more good eggs than bad eggs in my experience. But the bad ones are usually the ones that get remembered more because they're more intense. So we have to include them in the budget process. And I will say this, more and more technicians and supervisors have higher education. They have a better background. They know how to run small businesses. They've been doing side hustles and jobs and trades their whole lives. They know what it means to be involved in a budget process. And in our industry, it's only a small item of repairs and maintenance. It's not the entire budget. They have basically 10 to 20 line items, maybe 40, that they're responsible for. But if you're not teaching them how you evaluate the budget, they don't know how to drive your car. So like if we all of us have been driving cars for years. You get in a new car and you're like, where is everything? I didn't even know that button was there. For 3 months, you're learning how to drive your vehicle. So if we don't teach people how to drive our vehicle, they're looking around. And then after a while, if we don't communicate, they just say, you know what, I'll drive. And so we have to get people involved in that process. And let me just put this very clearly. If you involve people and teach them how you want your business run successfully, your business will be able to be run successfully. But if you don't teach them, there's too much guesswork. And that's the communication loophole that we mentioned earlier. So you have to get them involved. That's my take.
Definitely. But that's how, if you don't teach them, you don't tell them what the parameters are, then they don't know how many apartments they can contract paint or how many plumbing jobs. So they might contract paint out the next 5, but they were only budgeted for 3, right? So I think it's a good example of if they're not involved and they don't understand, how we budgeted, then they're not gonna help make sure that we stay under budget. So.
No, and Paul, I'd like to bounce this off of you, but let me just say this to all the executive team, specifically property managed level and up. If your technicians or anyone in your team dreads asking you for resources, they're not going to.
That is exactly correct. I mean, we think about the expectations that are placed on our on-site maintenance teams. They are told that to fix a problem. That means they get a work order of an identified problem. Now, that identified problem may be vague. It may not be specific. All they know is they have to go to a location, an apartment, and fix something. AC broken, toilet clogged, the vagueness. And we're relying on that technician's expertise to both identify the details of the problem, get what is needed, and then solve the problem. If, Jason, you brought up budgets, first of all, do we communicate where the problem's located to our maintenance technicians who we want to involve in the budget? I mean, how many pictures on all the social medias do you see of the budget boot camp that have 0 maintenance professionals included? So they don't even know where to go to find that out. Second place, they go in to identify a possibly vaguely worded or vaguely described problem in an apartment. Where the budget is concerned, more and more maintenance supervisors have 0 insight to what that budget is. You tell them about a GL code and they have no clue even what dashboard or which program or which Excel spreadsheet to open up on the possibly non-existent computer that they don't have access to. So already we've changed the scope of expectations for our maintenance supervisors. The third piece is they have to get tools to fix whatever problem that they've identified with minimal input. So if our supervisors, the people that we want to be included in the budgeting process, if they don't have access to a computer, if they don't have access to the people where they talk through the decision-making process with, let alone, I hate to say this, but it still happens. I was at a conference less than a month ago, talking with a group of maintenance supervisors and asking them how the procurement process is working at their communities. And a majority of them sat back in their chairs, disinterested, crossed their arms with the body language of frustration. And when I probed a little bit deeper, it turned into an overall sense in the room of distrust, to where several of them reported that I tell my my property manager that I need 10 flappers, whatever it is. The property manager, because they don't have it in the budget this month, they drop it to 7. The maintenance supervisor says, I need 10 because last month I had 9 fail. I need 10. Without consulting, without being included, the property manager made the decision to save money, justifiably, by cutting it without negotiating, figuring out a plan on how you're going to make up the potential for that. So the end result is, are we carrying this job expectation of work order, figure it out, solve it? Do we have that same empowerment or inclusion for our maintenance teams at our property throughout their leadership pathway? All of that goes into speaking maintenance. All of that goes into including our maintenance teams in the business decisions.
Yeah. Do you want them to make repairs or help run your business?
Yep.
How about both?
How about both? Thank you, Paul. Yeah, right. Yeah.
It's not an either or proposition. No. This is a yes and proposition.
And it's like what that eliminates is, for example, that gentleman that you talked about, I got 7, I needed 10. Then next year they're like, well, why didn't you tell us? We weren't even in the meeting. And so how often does that happen? I didn't know you need new tools for the new refrigerants coming out.
Sure.
We've been telling you for years.
Yeah.
We're not involved in the, right? So you can get ahead. So here's the thing. You can get years ahead of these last minute changes by involving your technicians and service team in the process. And so say it louder, Paul, it's
what you ask for.
Yeah. So, but that's the thing. So we have to eliminate just the repairman mentality and cultivate the person that's running our business by running a service department. And by the way, they know what their metrics are, and they're being taught how they're being measured. Then they're taught how to successfully meet those measurements and exceed them wherever possible. So yeah, I'm sure we could talk about this for days, but
yeah, we can.
Yeah. So that's my input. Paul, thank you.
Oh, that's great. I've had a lot of conversations with other facilities managers and maintenance supervisors, and kind of one of the biggest things that continues to be a conversation topic is manpower, and it's about keeping the right talent. And so what are your thoughts on big picture trends, challenges, and opportunities in maintenance for 2026, and how we can keep our people?
Paul, you want to go first and then I'll follow up?
Sure.
There
are
loaded question.
So many. Yeah, it's a loaded question, but that's okay. Let's just pick one version, because the money, I think, is the easy answer. That is the quick, pay more money. I think that's the quick one, but that in this type and in this format, I don't think we have enough time to do it justice. I would like to add to that money conversation that as a maintenance worker, as someone who solves problems, I don't think that only the money aspect gets to the root of why we're experiencing so much turnover. I think it gets to the root we need is not just the money conversation, it's what that money requires. In other words, if I'm a maintenance technician at a property and I can go right next door and get offered more money, what does that get? If my current role that I'm making, whatever I'm making now, is undefined and there's no pathway forward for me, the only way I have to measure my success is a dollar amount. That means if I go next door to another undefined role where success is still not defined, but I get more money, why wouldn't I leave? Why would I stay? So I think the bigger conversation is, do we have somewhat defined of a career path? Have we done a good job of defining not only repair skills, but life skills for our employees? Meaning, what does a career path look like? Is it a ladder? Is it a lattice? All of those other big words that you may have heard in other places. But if we continue to only define success as a maintenance technician by unit count and dollar amount, that does not translate into what I think Mark would agree with as success in life. Success is not managing a larger property for just a little bit larger dollar amount. There's bigger things involved in that success. And I think as an industry, we have to get to that point.
Yeah, I thank you, Paul. Totally agree. Okay, so I'm going to give my drill down on some of this too, but here's the deal. We want to help our employees feel like and know and prove through evidence that we're helping them win at life, not just get a job. It's different, right? So we have a very purpose-driven workforce in this industry. And if money's equal, they go for better treatment. If the treatment is equal, they go for the better path. If you have all three, people stay. The likelihood of someone staying when they can pay their bills, they're treated well, they pretty much get what they need, they have a future, they're going to stay. I don't know anyone that's like, dude, I'm getting paid amazing, they're wonderful people, I got a career path, I'm out of here. I don't know anyone that does that. And so, technicians are typically taught that everyone that hires them is trying to pay them the least amount that there is. And through the evidence, that's fairly true. So the multifamily is about 25% below what the average starting pay is for trades in most areas. Maybe more, it depends. Now, if I got some numbers here, right now there's 7.6 million jobs in the United States. 500,000 of those are trades. And the actual demand for jobs has come down from 9 million to 7.5, but the demand for trades has gone up. Now, with AI, and we're not talking about AI, but a lot of the way that our society is converting to technology, data centers are being built all over the United States, and they require massive resources and trades, which there is a really dire shortage of. And so we have a couple of problems. One, pay, treatment, environment, career path. You get that right, you're going to get more than most of your competitors ever hoped they could get right. Next, we have a shrinking workforce, but here's the deal. The population is bigger now than it's ever been before. We have more human beings, especially in Gen Z, which I think the huge trend now will be shifting towards Gen Z specific hiring. So the last few conferences I've done, and I do this everywhere I go when I am able to do so, have the whole room stand up. If you're 40 years old or older, sit down. 3/4 of the room sits down, maybe 2/3. If you're 35 years or older, have a seat. More people sit down. 30 and older, sit down. So the last conference I did was last week in Florida, and the one before it, same result. 2 people under the age of 30 stayed, and 1 that was under the age of 25. So less than 5% of our workforce in multifamily is Gen Z in the service department. Now, mark my words, if you get this right, Gen Z will resurrect the trades and save the trades in this country. However, if you started today, it would take 3 to 5 years to get moderate intermediate skills into the field. So we have to get a couple of things right, but people are getting burnt out at an alarming rate. And so they're overwhelmed by their environments. So if you have to pay people, most technicians are really close to not being able to sustain where they live if they don't have a job for a couple of weeks. They have to be able to pay their bills. The number one reason people leave after they can pay their bills is the way they're treated.
Yep.
Like it or not, whatever you say, and I hear people say this all the time, we have this wonderful program, then you look at the program and nobody participates. We have this policy, nobody even knows what it is. So we have to have, this is true. So we have to communicate that, but you have to compete with the shrinking pool of trades until the curve of skilled trades re-enters the workforce, which is, in my opinion, and based on all the evidence I have, about 5 years from now.
Yeah.
So people are holding off. And then
to your point, Bureau of Labor Statistics just released that within the next 5 years, over 1/3 of skilled trades workforce is retiring.
Yeah.
And according to MicroWorks, for every 5 skilled trade peoples who retire, 2 are replacing them. And that's across all skilled trades. So multifamily maintenance is a small subset of all of those trades. So somebody needs to do the math more than me, because I'm not taking my shoes off, because it's a number bigger than 10. That's all I know.
It's like okay, but the exit to re-entry rate is still declining. So okay, so but what's the good in this? Okay, the good is, get ready. You can teach Gen Z everything they need, but you have to put resources into them. They want to work. They don't want to be behind a desk. They want purpose-driven work. They want to learn trades. They want to be able to do all of these things, but they want to be able to pay their bills and have upward mobility in their career.
And they want stability.
They want stability. Yeah. They don't want to think they might lose their job every week. And right now, crews are stressed out and overworked and overburdened. So I think that's going to be the main focus for 2026, other than the HVAC changeover.
No, I think that's important. How do we gain interest, for the younger people coming in and make them want to maybe join the property management ranks, and then while they're there, make them happy and show them success, right? Show them if their peers are advancing and they see growth. It's one thing just to say, hey, we've got opportunities for you, but I think it also helps when they start to see their peers and they start to see other people getting promoted from within too. So I think that helps out.
And we as an industry need to do a better job of updating and showing the career paths. The career paths have changed in every facet of this industry. They don't look the same as when you all started. It's not leasing to assistant manager to property manager to regional, and same on the maintenance side. And there are more creative, different types of job titles and responsibilities that we have to find a way. And TAA Education Foundation is trying to work on this, but we have to find a way to visually show people, show Gen Z, show the public these career paths and what they can mean for them, what the skills that will come from, that are needed for those positions. And it's a great opportunity. It's like the right time or the necessary time to show what this industry could look like for them.
Yeah.
So some of the solutions to me are, let's just ask, where do they get their information? It's not mainstream media. So let's just forget that. It's not on job ads, right? So they're on apps, they're looking at media. When is the last time, and I want you to think about this, have you ever seen a commercial on any kind of media platform whatsoever that said you should get into the trades in the United States of America? And the answer is no.
Well, TAA-EI has a commercial program,
right,
for there. So I will say TAA's ambassador program is a great place for that to start. But to your point, Mark, outside of that, no.
Like on a national or a regional level, right? So let me just say this, Becca and Jason, you guys are light years ahead of most people. You're having the conversations, right? I'm talking about, like, if you see an HVAC company, they advertise their businesses, you can see medical trades, you can see all of these types of jobs all over media platforms, but you don't see any for technicians. That's my point. You don't see anyone say, have you ever thought of multifamily? Multifamily is an emerging business that has a wonderful career that you can build, and you have opportunities, and you have great pay, and that doesn't exist. So all you would have to do, in my opinion, is just get all over TikTok, Instagram, and those platforms, and start, because they connect with personalities more than platforms. So on the platforms is where they go. The personalities is who they connect to. When they see people being successful, they're going to inquire. But we're not doing really much as a whole on a large scale to get people into the industry. And, you can go to any dinner, any local community college or university, and visit with one of the professors or 10 of them and say, have you ever heard of multifamily? And if it's not one of the few that offer a degree, they probably don't know what it is. So we have huge opportunity to get out in the workplace. And the other thing I'll say is, wherever tradespeople advertise, like, for example, HVAC, electrical, plumbing, landscaping, masonry, all of those, we should start getting those audience as well too, because all we are to them after awareness is a decision away. And so I think there's a lot of opportunity for it. But that younger generation has also been taught, and taught this even in school, is job hopping equals more success.
Yep.
Because if you stay long term, you're going to wind up getting paid less.
Correct.
And you can just look at every article you can find, and it's going to have something along that perspective. Oh, Paul, I'd love to hear what you have, your input from this.
Mine is from a starting place. We start at one place, and you went to all the social Insta, Taka, Gram, whatever they are. I'm the old school guy. We start at the property level. When a maintenance technician goes into a home, you have a condensed, focused audience. So maintenance persons dress well, be clean. Management companies ensure your workers have a good appearance. They smell good. All of that first person appearance going directly into our residents' homes that have kids. I can remember looking at my dad's friends who would work on a car on the weekends or do construction. And man, when I was a kid, that was the coolest thing in the world. This guy got to beat a piece of wood to another piece of wood, and it was awesome. When they got finished, they had a deck or they had something built. We go into our residents' apartments, and unfortunately, I can remember when I was in school, and my daughter, she was told, trades work, that's a fallback. That's not a goal. Well, if we reinforce that by going in looking like a slob, barely doing the job, then why wouldn't people think that multifamily maintenance is a fallback just because you're not good enough to do anything else? It starts right there with that esteem. Be proud of yourself, maintenance worker. You are a superhero. You can fix things that other people can't. And that one little itty bitty starting place of esteem, of confidence, of competence can get the wide part of the funnel. That's just the narrow part of the funnel. The wide part of the funnel is we have no idea how many lives that's going to affect. And if we begin to change that impression, that's where that word of mouth comes from. And eventually that's where all those social media stuff comes from. So that would be my starting point. Start with the confidence and the outward perception.
Yeah, so I'm going to just summarize that as awareness, presence, and engagement. Right? And so you're dead on. Like, all of this is important, and we can do a better job. But here's the thing. It's we have to start. It doesn't even matter if it's imperfect. If you're on site, just start. Did you ever hear that phrase, like, just get your phone and start talking? Just record, just put something out there, even if it's terrible, or it's not exactly what you want. It doesn't have to be Hollywood production level. But
good is better than perfect.
And we have to help people build careers, not just give them a job, and it's got to be desirable. And I think it's increasing, and Gen Z demands it too. And let me tell you, they have very high standards, and I train that generation. I know you do, Paul. They're squared away. They're hard workers. They're disciplined. They're going to play in the Super Bowl this year. I mean, like, the quarterback in the Super Bowl is 22, so you can't say this generation doesn't work hard.
Careful, but I'm going to go looking for my walker now, because it's around here somewhere.
It makes me feel old, Paul. he's the same age as my son, and I'm like, oh my God. But so I think those are the things. But I would ask everyone that's in the corporate office and the regional, wherever the influence is to put something out into the workforce, into the general society, not our industry, out into the general society that brings awareness to our industry. And then when you meet people, like Paul said, the impression is high, and it builds a desire, and then they have everything else. So I think there's a lot of opportunity for us. There's more Gen Z than any other generation. Even with a lower percentage, we'll still do better. We just got to get awareness into that group.
This is all great conversations. Becca, is there any questions or any comments in the chat?
No, we could go on with these two for
I know.
forever.
I seriously
Part
could stay here
2
for a
and
couple
3,
more hours.
it's incredible. But we're about out of time. Jason, any last wrap-ups from you for these two?
No, I really appreciate your time, both of you. I know that you got a busy schedule, and you guys are amazing at talking about maintenance and property management. So I really appreciate you joining us today. So
anytime. Yes, whatever, anytime.
Thank you. Well, I'll always make time for you guys. So thank you very much.
Appreciate it.
Thank you. And if you haven't already, make sure that you check out conference.taa.org to sign up for the TAA1 conference in Fort Worth in April. And just check out the TAA website for all sorts of resources and very, very related conversations to this and projects and resources coming soon from TAAEF. So thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Take care.